Hey, come on in. Got something that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about it with you. So, for some time now, I have been wrestling with my own reaction to something, and I thought maybe you wanted to talk about it too. Um, in the previous video, I talked about the tension that I feel when I hear the phrase "decenter men," and I want to say this frankly. That tension that when I hear decenter man, the tension that I feel in my body, um, it's because I don't want to be without a man. Um, Although I do know that there's value in decentering, to center myself. Um, of course, that centering, um, of course, though, centering myself for me includes having a loving, meaningful, fulfilling relationship with my man. So when I hear decenter, something in my body questions this quieter assumption that's underneath that phrase. And in that assumption, um, when I hear that assumption, it says quietly to me, but it really is screaming to me. It says quietly to me. Nobody says this, but this is what I hear. I hear, be okay without partnership. And I'm wondering, are you hearing that too? If you're, I'm imagining we are a lot alike. Um, so for me, that's where I say that the tension comes from. Because on one hand, let me explain it a little bit. Because on one hand, decentering can absolutely help us reclaim ourselves, right? Um, it can absolutely help us do that. But on the other hand, I cry to myself that I value intimacy, romance, and a shared life with a man. So today, I want to talk about that tension, what's underneath it, and why it feels so charged. I'm Minty Ray, and here we have honest conversations about health, relationships, and everything in between, especially as it relates to menopause and midlife. Here, this is a space where we name things so we can grow, a space where we don't just exist, but become more vibrant, thrive more, and feel more alive. If that's what you're looking for, well, come on in. You found your place, girl. So here's my assertion. A lot of the tension that I feel around this decenter conversation is not actually about the joy or the perceived joy from this autonomy that decentering could bring. Of course, I welcome the autonomy from it. And if I were a betting woman, I'd bet that we're alike and that to have decenter equal autonomy, it's like, okay, um, but it's not the girl power of it. It's not that part of it. The tension for me rises from decentering when I think about the fear of loneliness. It even makes my body get tight now, thinking about it in that way. So I want to acknowledge, I want to acknowledge that, and I want to name it. Even though it rarely, if ever, gets acknowledged in the decentering conversation, and so decentering rings in my mind with a straight line from the word decentering. Like it's like shortly after I hear that word, I get in my body a straight line over to being alone. So it makes sense that my body tightens when I hear this decenter mantra. Um, so I'm saying that the fear that I feel um, is, could I be lonely? Will I be lonely if I decenter men? And this is where online conversations can make things a little bit harder because complex emotional things can get reduced down to sound bites. On social media, we know that certainty, confidence, and strong positions get rewarded. So when you have a topic that's layered but not unpacked, it quickly becomes flat and its nuances get lost in the sauce. However, from those conversations, we are left with language that sounds big. Think about it. Decenter men. It sounds strong and it sounds powerful. They're sound bites. But that doesn't actually help us have a deeper understanding. Those sound bites, they don't help us go deep. They don't help us have a deeper understanding about ourselves, which is um, which is what we over here in this space we enjoy understanding and going deep. And in these sound bites, you might hear decenter subconsciously because they're not saying all this part. But when you hear the sound bite, you might hear decenter and be alone. Then you can do whatever you want. Actually, you might actually hear that decenter. You might not hear the be alone part, but you actually might hear then you can do whatever you want. Or something, you might hear something like stop centering men because we don't need a man. And to that, my body responds immediately like, right, that's true, but I want one. And I'd say that response is valid because I say as women, we want both. We definitely want autonomy, we definitely want safety, and we want connection with our man. And those things don't have to contradict that together. Those things don't have to contradict themselves. So then, why the tension? Here's where the nuance collapses down and where confusion comes in. When loneliness and aloneness get treated like they're the same things, hold on, I'm getting to it. Um, we're smart here and intellectually, we know they're separate. That loneliness is not aloneness, but emotionally, in the message that we receive them as being woven tightly together. And before you know it, a couple of sound bites in, and we're asking ourselves things that don't actually help us. Like we might start to wonder if I still want connection, am I weak? Am I missing the deeper point of this decentrament conversation? Am I not interested in fighting the good fight that I hear mostly women talking about? Um, am I not interested in fighting the good fight that'll that decentering will bring me? Um, so bear with me. Let me get myself grounded and quickly define both and clearly separate loneliness from aloneness. Then I'll get back to this collapse that I was just talked about. Loneliness. Now, I know we know intellectually that what it is, but um, bear with me so that I say it here so that this video holds the full breadth of this talk and everything, all of this is in one, nicely put together in one place. Loneliness is emotional dryness. We know that. Even when someone is physically present, you can still feel lonely. You can be in a relationship and feel deeply lonely. In fact, I understand that many women are. I've been, um, and it doesn't feel good. In my case, um, there was dishonesty, there was my small child, and there was disrespect. and the disrespect was loud. Um, and it created distance, tension, and eventually loneliness for me. Um, Now, aloneness, on the other hand, which I feel gets lumped into loneliness, and if not intellectually, emotionally. Um, and if we don't interrogate ourselves, well, it gets lumped into aloneness gets lumped into loneliness if we don't interrogate ourselves to see where we are with it. Like, why am I hearing this when I hear this decenter men mantra? So, aloneness is different from loneliness. Aloneness is quiet, um, and it's without self erasure. Aloneness let you be by yourself and feel relaxed and unafraid, unlike loneliness. Aloneness can actually be nourishing. And in midlife, where we are, distinguishing between these two is necessary because each asks for a different response from us. Loneliness is the signal that something relational needs attention. Loneliness is the signal that something relational needs attention. Aloneness signals that we might just need a little space to breathe deeply, and that will feel like support to us. But if we don't know which one we are experiencing, we'll have the wrong. We'll we could make the wrong move. We'll respond uh, not in a way that serves us. And the cost of the wrong move at this time in my life feels very expensive to me. For one, I don't feel like I have unlimited time anymore. Um, and I certainly don't feel that I have unlimited patience. When I was younger, though, I felt I could afford normalizing emotional tension and truly, probably too often told myself, you can handle it. You can handle, well, XYZ, whatever this bad situation, just a little bit longer. See my 30 plus years of work in video. But midlife changes that. Um, Midlife doesn't put me in a space where I just want to be patient for no reason. Well, I don't want to be patient on stuff that brings me joy, that I know brings me joy. Now, I notice tension in my body a lot sooner. Now I notice tension, I just notice it a lot sooner. And I bet you do as well. I notice when I'm bracing, I notice when I'm shrinking, um, and I notice when I'm silencing myself. My body doesn't let me ignore it the way that it used to. So staying in relationships that create loneliness, even if they look successful, costs so much now. Now, the reason that the decentering conversation feels so charged is because what many women are actually trying to escape, I would say, is not men. It's emotional loneliness. And we connect with decentering on the one hand because it can offer protection. It can give distance from being in relationships where we've created patterns that do not serve us and cause us to lose ourselves, and sometimes even violently. Or unintentional emotional patterns where we go quiet to preserve the relationship. Now, there's a time and a place for decentering when it creates safety or protection, and we deserve that. And the first job for decentering is clearly to give us physical and emotional safety, but it's not the only job because many women desire connection, intimacy, and partnership with men. So the next question becomes, what kind of relationship actually supports me and not just protects me? And if you're still here, hold tight. We're coming to an end that's worth the wait. At its healthiest, decentering isn't about pulling away from connection, it's about pulling ourselves back into the center of our lives. Because when we're not central, when we fashion ourselves into someone who keeps our relationship intact at any cost to ourselves, loneliness creeps in and we find ourselves existing or even barely just existing in situations that do not serve us. We actually lose ourselves when we go quiet, lose ourselves when we manage the environment rather than risking expressing how we feel. We lose ourselves when we trade what's true in our hearts for the sake of keeping the relationship. So for many of us, decentering doesn't actually serve us when it's interpreted as living alone or pushing men away. Neither does it serve us when it asks us to pretend that we don't want connection. But I'll tell you what decentering is calling me to do. It's calling me to stop abandoning myself, whether I'm in a relationship or not. So I'm ending this video right here. My reaction to the phrase decenterment isn't about the soundbite that takes my emotions from zero to loneliness in a few seconds flat. Instead, I'm choosing what to decenter in my relationships so that I don't disappear in them. If this conversation stirs something in you, that's not discomfort, it's clarity forming. So take care of yourselves, and we'll talk again soon.